Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And this week we have keyed up for Friday a review episode. We are going to be reviewing Dice Forge.
Not Dice Forged.
Nope, Dice Forge.
I have not said Dice Forged yet. I don't think.
Yet.
I did check in between the episodes. I was like, it is Dice Forge, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I was not wrong, at least not so far.
Also known as correct.
Indeed.
I feel like with me saying that I'm correct is more of a stretch than just saying I'm not wrong. Like that leaves a little gray area between. There's a little gray area between wrong and correct.
That's fair. Giving you too much gray area.
Mm-hmm.
Putting you up on a pedestal at that point.
Yeah,
exactly.
Anyhow, Dice Forge is a 2017 release from designer Régis Bonassi. Artist is Bebon, and published by Asmodee Games here in the States. It plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 40 minutes. Zach, do you have a rules rundown for us?
Yes, I do. In Dice Forge, you are attempting to gain the most glory using dice with replaceable faces. On every player's turn, everyone will roll their die and gain the result, and then when you are the active player, you will be able to purchase additional dice faces with gold, or purchase heroic feats with crystals, gaining additional abilities and glory. After 9 or 10 rounds, whoever has the most glory wins.
Simple.
It's a very simple game to explain. You roll those dice, you get those results. You use those results to buy more dice. Face.
Is.
Yeah. Let's dive right in then to some initial thoughts. I will start, since I think I was the one of the group to originally play this first. I played this a little over a year ago. Went to Vegas as part of a semi-regular trip that a friend of ours here in town organizes, where, I don't know, half dozen or so of us go to Vegas and just hang out and have a good time. And this was my first time going to Vegas since we'd started the show, and I became aware of Board Game Blitz and learned that one of their hosts, Crystal, awesomely friendly woman, lives in Vegas. And so I was in Vegas, got in touch with her and was like, hey, let's meet up, let's play a game, and, show me one of the local game stores, whatever. We ended up meeting up at a game store. I don't remember the name of it. It was fairly new at the point. They were still waiting on some licensing and stuff. But one of the games we ended up playing was Dice Forge. I had not played it. And, she was like, yeah, this is really good. It's really quick to teach, quick to play. It'll be a great game for just hanging out and more chit-chatting while playing. And so me, her, and Megan played a 3-player game. Going into it, I'd heard a little bit about Dice Forge and how it used the replaceable die faces, which sounded really interesting to me because of how much dice suck for me. It's like, oh, well, if I can just take the suck pieces off and replace them with good pieces, then
under most regular circumstances,
that would work wonderfully.
Yeah.
So I was intrigued. I was curious to see how this mechanic worked.
See if you can make your own luck.
Yeah. And so I would say I was cautiously optimistic going into my first play of Dice Forge. Jeff, how about you?
I don't remember where I first heard about it. I think we probably talked about it on the show, where we talked about like a replaceable die face game. I don't think any of the components were finished at the time, but I was interested. It seemed like a cool, it was like almost a deck builder, but with dice facings.
Yep.
And I was excited to give it a shot, which I finally did at Geekway this year.
Right on. Zach, how about you?
Pretty much the same thing as Jeff. When I first heard about it, I was like, it's like deck building, but you're dice building? That sounds really cool. And so I was excited. And then I had seen people have it, and I just never got a chance to play it until earlier this year, like Jeff. I think I played it at Geekway as well.
We probably played it together.
Yeah. Okay, then. That
switching it up.
Yeah. That moves us on over into components. Components for Dice Forge are really great. Yeah, it's always been one of the things that people have said about this game right from the start, is that the components are really nice.
Components and art, yeah.
Yeah. It has a really nice insert that holds all of the pieces really well.
Don't just sell it short with
it's
really
an amazing
nice insert.
It's
this
actually
insert
an amazing insert.
Is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
It holds everything in in perfect place.
There's a spot for fucking everything.
Yep.
And it holds it whether you turn it vertically or lay it horizontally. It holds it all. It doesn't get jumbled up or mixed up, which is really nice because there's a lot of small square plastic pieces for the
And
different dice faces.
A lot of little tokens and all of the die facings.
Oh, I feel like a company that wouldn't care as much or anything like that would be like, here, you can just put those in a bag or something, and then you just sort of lay them out at the beginning of the game.
But setup would be a nightmare.
But here, it's not.
No. All the die facings go on a board that has a sleeve and an elastic strap that keeps it all in there. So you can shake it all around and it will be, well, within reason, and it'll be totally fine.
Yep, and you just pull it out, and the sleeve has what it should look like in the inside the inlaid board. Yeah.
So even if it only goes 4 players, but if the board where you buy stuff is on one end, you can give the other sheet
like we did on our most recent play. We
Yeah.
were playing on my table. It's kind of long, and I was down at one end, and they had the board and everything box set on the other end. So Zach was able to just hand me that sleeve, like, hey, if you need to reference what pieces are potentially available, it doesn't. Obviously, there's no good way to update it as people take pieces.
I just
dry erase.
Yeah. And for that, I was just like, all right, this and this is like what you're looking at. This one's out. This one's been taken.
And thankfully, most of them are the same for all of them. It's only when you get to the complicated ones, but by then you know what asshole has bought all of them anyways. Right. Not pointing at Zach.
Oh, you were 100% pointing at me.
In addition to the insert being great and like the sleeve and everything, just the actual board and the way the things fit. So they don't use multi-layer player boards, but they still have the punch outs.
Recessed.
So I wouldn't even call them recessed. They're they're punched through.
Yeah.
So, the little cubes just sit in it real nice. It holds them in place that you can use as your trackers for all of your resources. The main center board has nice little cutouts for all the decks of cards. And then one of the small details, and these are the kinds of things that actually just make me really happy with these kinds of games. I don't really care about art and components that much in games. I like them when they're nice. But I really appreciate when they go the extra mile and made it to where the spots in the board where you put the cards, the card art and the board art match up so that it forms one cohesive picture.
We always like when things match.
Yes. And then it even has the symbol on the left or right side, so you know which side it goes on too. It's very, very well designed in that regard, I think.
And also makes it a lot easier to set up too.
Exactly.
You don't, it's like this stack of cards can only go in this one spot where they match the art.
We should mention that the die facings actually fits on the box, so that can go on the edge of the board. Yeah. So you're not just throwing the box somewhere.
No,
you actually use that.
You put it next to the board, and then you put the dice faces on top, and it has, once again, the insert has any tokens you need that has spots for them already that are outside of that box or that board. Yeah. And so if you're like, oh, I need the 2 times, it's just really easy to grab.
Yep.
And
it's not just in little pools on one side of the board.
No. Yeah, there's basically no loose things in the game.
No.
It's everything has a place for it when you're playing.
The only thing I can think of is the whoever started the game.
Yeah.
Token, first player token.
Well, and then as you remove faces, you have loose ones sitting around, which in our most recent game, since there was actually a card where you count those, you need to just still keep them in a little pile next to you. But otherwise, everything.
Which is always a nice thing to do because you need to reset the die every time anyways.
Yeah. Unless you really want to screw over whoever plays it next. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Just throw everything in a bag.
Fuck the owner of that copy.
Yes.
Take every single one of those off. Just throw it all in a bag and then just be like, done. Enjoy that, Jeff.
I didn't even punch my copy.
No.
You did it. I don't even know how that comes out of the
It was mostly one thing that was nice is that when we unpunched the player boards, there weren't a shitload of holes that we had to, actually push out. Those were already done. It was just the outer edge that you had to pop out.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Art's really good. It's kind of
very colorful.
Yeah, very colorful, very bright. Not quite cartoony, but kind of animated style.
Yeah.
Kind of
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's
and
drawn. So
kind of a Greek sort of theme to it. I mean, there's a Medusa.
Yeah, there is and it's
you're battling
the sanctuary. There's heroic deeds and stuff like that, and
you're battling each other for the favor of the gods and stuff like that. One component we haven't mentioned at all yet are the actual dice.
Well, I was going to save that for the end because that's the key part of this game.
Yes. Well, I'll say one thing first too is that all the different resources or currencies that you can get, they all have like not only are they different colors, obviously, but they have different symbols too, which is because like one is moon, one is gold, one is a sun crystal, and then a victory point, and they all look different too.
Very
so,
distinct.
Color blindness shouldn't be an issue.
Yes, for those things, I don't like player color wise. It might mess up a bit. I don't know about those, but
one nitpick I have is the black player color on the board
It's like a
doesn't
dark
look
gray.
black.
Yeah.
No, it's all white background. Everyone else has like orange, blue, green, but the black player color is like all white behind that actual like character. So you're looking for like a white piece, but it's black. He has like
gotcha.
he has like black armor, but that's one thing that doesn't match.
Yeah,
Great.
it was interesting they used black as a player color in a 4-player game. Like I feel like there's a lot of other
I
colors
don't
you can put
know.
in
I
there.
always like it when black or white appear as a color. So
Yeah.
I just was like, this color does not match all of the other clearly defined colors.
and that with the player.
I was
board,
like, oh, this one must be black though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Luckily, it's a really minor thing that doesn't come up.
no.
Yes.
And then all of the little player pawns are, pretty standard.
Yeah, they're just little plastic pawns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of pandemic style.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think now we can talk about the single main component for this. That the entire game is based around this component, and that is the changeable die.
Yep.
So these are the actual dice forges
Yes.
of the namesake.
Yes. They're plastic. They are oversized. I would say over normal
Very much.
Oh, you
normal
consider
D6s.
normal-
Yeah.
And they have essentially, it's like a Lego pattern. It's like the little circular block things for Legos. And one of the things they did really,
Similar to it. Yeah.
one of the really interesting things they did is when you take a new face, you can use that face to pry the old face out of its position and then push the new one in.
Yeah. You don't need a tool or anything. You can just use what you already got. So
Which I think was a really clever little design feature.
sometimes it's like, especially when you're first trying to, it can be a little weird to do, but once it's easy enough to figure out. And then once you get used to it, it's very
You're
easy
just
to
like,
just
boom, boom,
pop
boom.
off and then put on the new one. And obviously, it doesn't matter which way you do it, which is good.
Yeah.
Like on the actual die, you don't have to put it in any particular
No.
orientation. So
Yeah. And in fact, because it's just random, you don't even really need to worry about like, I'm replacing, especially at the start where you start with like one of your die has 5 single gold spots for 5 of the 6 sides or single gold. You don't really need to overthink like, oh, do I want to put it on this one or that one or this one? Because
near
the statistics don't matter.
No.
Towards the end, when there might only be one.
and especially if because some die use like there's one that's a times 3.
Yeah.
So it's like near the end of the game where you put it would actually matter, but for the most part, yeah.
I did notice you need to be, they're a pretty tight fit, which is good because they don't like fall off when
Yes.
you're rolling them or anything. But you do need to make sure you really push them in and get them nice and smooth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your dice have weird edges. Like at the start of the game,
Mhm.
the dice that I got in our most recent play, one of them, somebody had clearly at the end of the game, you're putting everything back
putting
and
it
they just
quick on
kind of
there.
put it in quick. And so they almost none of them were really flush.
Right.
And so I had to go around and make sure they were all flushed and flattened down so that you got a good roll out of them.
Which at the very least, there is more on the die than the faces. There's like a rounded part that sticks out a bit too, so it wouldn't affect it as much as if like those were the corners.
Yes.
Like if you push those in and that corner you pushed in was the corner, you could be worried about it affecting the roll a lot, or like it hits a corner weird or something and it pops off. But because the part that you push in, there are other plastics on all of the all around it, it's not taking any pressure from rolling,
Right.
which is good.
They do feel, one complaint I have on them from just a tactile feedback thing.
Uh-huh.
They seem really, whatever plastic they use, whatever, like I don't know how hollow they are, but
Yeah.
they feel for being oversized, they feel very light.
You're not wrong.
I felt,
Yeah.
which is just a minor like tactile thing. Like
Yes.
I play enough things with dice, despite how much I hate dice. I play enough things with them that I'm used to like the weight of normal dice. And these
No, it's
felt a bit
definitely it's
light.
not a like solid plastic.
Yeah,
on it.
and because it's not an acrylic, it's
Yes.
not as dense of a
Exactly.
plastic.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, I will say like they like the material feels good on it. At least like I haven't noticed any bumps or anything like that.
I was trying to look, and I couldn't quite tell. I'm curious if either of you know the faces on the pieces that you
Uh-huh.
you forge the dice faces. Is it printed or are they just really good stickers. Like I was trying to tell, and I actually couldn't tell.
I don't know. I feel like it's
I think
it's
they might have
printed.
printed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not pictures that are or stickers that are gonna like
Peel off. No,
off or
it's
wear off.
part of it. Yeah.
I never investigated.
I was trying to. Like,
It never. If it was a sticker, I feel like they printed. But if they are stickers, it's really well done. So you can't
It's
even tell.
amazingly well done. Yeah.
So I'm going to assume printed on it then.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, let's move over to rules and rules explanation.
It's a super easy game to teach.
Yeah. You kind of alluded to this in your overview.
Mhm.
Like,
Should mention during this point where it's super easy to explain. Also, it's listed under one of the best family games that you can play on BGG for rankings.
Yeah, it's number 49, top 50 family games.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is probably because it is a very simple game. Like, you don't need to be very old. You don't need to have really complex strategy or tactics for this game. Everybody on each turn, everybody rolls their dice, and you just get the resources. And then on your turn, you spend those resources. You move your pawn somewhere or don't.
Yeah.
And then spend resources. And then it goes to the next player, and you do that for 8 to 10 rounds. And
9 to 10.
9 to 10. I didn't know if it ever dropped to 8.
It's 2 and 4 players is 9 rounds. 3 players, it's 10 rounds. But it clearly lists on the tracker for the amount of players. So
so you do that for a few rounds, and then that's it. So teaching it is really easy. The most complicated part of teaching it is just explaining what the different faces or cards mean. But even then,
it's just fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It has 2 red crystals. That means you're going to get 2 red crystals. I think the important things to let people know is, one, your resources have a hard cap. And so that means if you get 6 money on your turn, but you can only take 4, you're not like, oh, I'm going to take 4, but then spend it. And so it's, you can only take 4.
Because you keep getting resources not on your turn.
Exactly. And that's the other one, is that every person's turn, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
And you're gaining whatever it is. So,
which is one of the nicest things about this game. There's not like,
because
you roll die, you roll
no,
die.
because when you first play it and you're like, I only roll this 10 times, that feels, or 9 times, feels like it's going to take a while to get anything and you're not going to do any changes. But it's the fact that you get to roll every time. And so once it's your turn, you're going to have, ideally, you're going to have a good supply, a big pool of things to upgrade to.
Yeah. So you're going to be rolling, somewhere in the realm of like 25 to 30.
Yes.
Times.
Yeah,
I think 27 at the minimum.
2 player at would be
2 players
20?
to 9.
No, it's to 9, so 18. Or
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, okay. We'll say this too. We never played it with 2 players.
No.
We did 3 and 4 players.
Yeah.
So,
And in a 3-player game, you're playing 9 rounds. So you're rolling.
you're going 10 on 3 player.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's 30. Whereas if you're doing 4, it's 36.
Yeah.
So
you're rolling a lot, and that's a minimum
Mhm.
because there's a lot of ways that you end up re-rolling.
yes, which another thing to learn is if you go to the same place that someone else is, you kick them out. And what's nice is on the board, it shows when you go back to the center space, the sanctuary, I think is what it's called. You get to do a kick out. You get to roll your dice and receive a divine blessing.
Yeah,
which is to let people know that same sort of thing. So it's not a hard block, but you're giving someone a benefit by kicking them out.
Sometimes a pretty significant one.
Yes.
Or maybe a bad one.
If you have a shitty roller, yeah.
But yeah, so you're getting
Mhm.
a decent amount of rolls. So you're gonna have a lot of chances, especially because the way that the faces level up too. Like you don't go from like 1 gold, 2 gold, 3 gold, 4 gold, 5
Mhm.
gold. You go from like 1 gold to like 3 gold to like 6 gold.
Yeah, and you don't have to even go to 3 if you have enough money.
Just
you
to
can
skip right
Yeah,
to
you
6.
can skip. So it's just letting them. You can buy any amount of dice or any amount of dice faces from the sanctuary as long as it's not the same die face. So you could buy that. You could buy a 6 gold one and a 4 gold one, but you couldn't get 2 of the 4 gold ones.
I do also have to say at that point, what you were talking about, they have a lot of names for things in this game that
never comes up.
What you were specifically talking about was making an offering to the gods from the sanctuary.
Yes.
At no point have we ever referenced anything.
Even things
it's never like, all right, here I'm going to go to the Upton Sanctuary. Here's 6 gold. Now I am blessed with this thing that gets. No, it's obviously they have names for things, and it's getting the cards as you're doing a heroic deed or heroic feat
from the island.
And no, it's not. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to 3 moons and get that card.
Well, and even like you said, 3 moons, half the time I felt like we were saying like, I'm going to spend 3 blue or I'm going to spend some red.
Yeah.
It wasn't even moon and sun.
Exactly.
It was just colors.
No, yes.
Sun shards and moon shards.
There is a theme. I mean, there's a theme on here, and they've put it all the way through, but
there was no lack of effort.
Yeah. It it doesn't connect.
Yeah.
But
we'll adjust that more later.
The last thing I wanted to say for rules that you need to make sure people know is, and I think Jeff was saying this earlier, that you can do one of those 2 actions, but you can also spend 2 of the
sun shards.
Sun shards, thank you. Sun shards and moon crystal. God damn it. 2
sun shards and moon shards. They're all just shards.
Okay. All right. Good to know. You can spend 2 sun shards to do an additional action. And you can only do it once, and that's only on your active turn. But it does allow you to go to the sanctuary and buy something and then go to the island to perform another heroic feat.
Yeah.
Or go do 2 heroic feats.
Yeah.
Just basically gives you another action.
Yes.
Which can be really powerful. You know,
Yes.
like I almost, this was one of the things that dawned on me, like as I was thinking about the game today while I was doing other things, I almost wanted to get one more play in where my initial strategy was all about really maximizing sun shards on my dice.
Yeah.
So that I would get the opportunity to maybe do double actions
a lot more
often.
Well, the problem with that too is it's just it uses one of your currencies, so it's harder to buy the sun shard stuff. So
yeah, the rules are really simple. There's really not a lot here.
One thing I do have to say about the rulebook, it looks very busy. It is a lot of
examples,
and it's not like a booklet. It's just kind of like a fold out sort of big thing. But there's a million examples for everything. But I think it's
well explained, but a little over explained.
Yeah, it was like there's an example for everything, which is appreciated.
Yeah,
because you can just go to that general area and kind of find it.
And then they also have a hero aid, which shows what all of the different cards do, because this is multilingual. It has a bunch of iconography on it, which is fairly easy enough to get. Usually if it shows, like, there's a couple symbols on there. There's like, I want to say like a tornado looking thing, which means you get it immediately. I don't know what the actual symbol is. There is an hourglass, which is you get to do an effect, which in the breakdown of your timing as the active player, it shows you here's where you do the hourglass effects, because it's basically you roll your die, you do your effects, then you can actually purchase things.
The reinforcement effect.
There you go. More fucking bullshit names.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that.
It's basically like immediate or ongoing or passive.
Much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also victory points on those cards too. Sometimes just that.
Sorry. Glory points.
Yeah, sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I even called them that. Yeah. And then a lot of times they'll show if you need to roll dice, it'll show you rolling dice and whether it's 1 or 2. Or if it has some, like you said, an ongoing effect, the kick out action has its own symbol.
Ousting,
thank you.
Jesus Christ.
Like we said,
I never even knew. I've never read the rules.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Did you know that rolling the dice isn't just called rolling the dice? It is called divine blessing.
I knew that. Yeah, you're getting a divine blessing. So you do it 4 times in a row. Yeah.
That's what the ousting action gives the other player a divine blessing, which lets them roll the die.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
They fucking went all for
they found
that
a name for everything,
and they went for it, and were like straight faced. Yeah. That's exactly what all of this is.
You're not wrong there.
No tongue in cheek anywhere in this rule book.
I feel like that's about it for rules. Like it's just, and you just go with the full amount of rounds, and then it just ends.
Yeah.
So
and you add up points.
Yeah.
I would recommend watching a rule video instead of probably trying to get through the rule book if you're not familiar. It is much easier than it makes this rule book look.
But if you're teaching somebody, it'll take less. I would say less than 5 minutes. Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So. It teaches so
if
fast.
Someone already knows it, just let them teach you the game. But if no one has played it before, a video would make this much simpler than it looks.
Unless it's a 45-minute video, in which case they're over-explaining and you should get the fuck out.
Oh God, Now see, this die face.
So this is ousting. Don't forget your divine blessings.
Yes. And once again, they are straight face. They're using all the terminology. Yeah.
Right on. Let's jump over into gameplay. Honestly, not a lot more here than in the rules. It's a really simple game.
I think it's a fairly. You're not okay. So as the game goes on, your dies are going to feel better because you're going to be getting more stuff, but is fairly consistent on what you're doing the entire time.
Yes.
You're rolling dice, you're gaining the results, and then you're going to spend it on your turn. Now, as the game goes farther along, you can get better results. And so you're like, instead of getting, because a lot of those early rolls are just 2 money. Yay.
Yeah.
1 money.
Yeah.
And a moon.
Yeah, exactly. But then later on, it's like, I got 1 of everything and I got 4 money, or I got
7 and then I tripled it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there are regular cards and then there are also advanced cards, which add in the variability to an extent.
Yes. I think almost every slot has a different one that you can put in there.
There are 2 level 1s, which you put both of them out. There's 2 2s and 3s.
4, 5, 6.
And 4s. There are 2 of those. There's only 1 of each of the 5s, but then there's 2 of the 5
That's
and
the
5.
triple and the mirror.
Yes.
Then there's the 6s of each, and then there's the combo 5 and 5.
Yes.
Each.
And so you have a little bit of variability there, but you're only using 1 of them, and they have them labeled whether or not they're advanced. But for the most part, this game, if you probably didn't figure it out just on how we've been explaining it, it's fairly multiplayer solitaire, like 95%.
Yes.
The only thing of like true interaction is, obviously that competing for die faces, and cards, because you can technically have more than 1 card, and so there are only cards equal to the amount of players. So if
heroic feats,
cards. And if I have 2 of them and Jeff buys 1, then Adrian obviously can't buy it.
In a 3-player game.
In a 3-player game. But there is 1 card that allows me to actually give somebody else a die face. And then when they roll that, they get something, but I also get something instead.
And sometimes you can be like, you can get that something or 3 victory points.
Yes.
Sorry, glory.
Thank you. You can get a sun shard, a moon shard, or 3 glory points.
Jesus, just stop.
Please stop award. Yeah, denying people from some of them, some of the die facings, because the 4-cost die facings are really nice. You can get like a 6 gold or like a victory point and a sun shard, or like some like choose one of anything.
All of them are unique. All
Yes.
4 of them are unique. So once somebody takes one, that one's gone.
Yeah, because the only ones that are unique in a pool are the 4s and the 12s.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything else is a group of at least 4.
Yes.
And then there's the I don't think we had this one
We did.
in our most.
We did. Yeah.
Nobody,
Just no one ever
not a
bought it.
single
Nobody-
person took them.
No. So yeah, there are so the advanced cards or the advanced die faces from the heroic feats. They're a little bit more complicated. Like one of them is a mirror, and that's you get to copy anybody's die. So it's like if I rolled great and you rolled a mirror, you could be like, sweet, I get to copy that. There is a ×3, which then works off what your other die rolled. It's that ×3. You can use the mirror to copy the ×3, and so then you can be like, oh fuck yeah, I got 12 victory points because I rolled a 4
I used that on
×3.
my last turn,
Yeah.
which still didn't get me anywhere near winning the game.
No, that was the like, oh, we could do that bullshit one so that he would go over
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
There is one that is the boar, the one I was talking about earlier.
Impetuous boar or something like
the
that.
dick move.
The dick move one.
Yeah.
It's
You were-
especially great is if you give it to people who have bad luck, because then they will roll it all the time.
I think I rolled it 8 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
'Cause I think you gave it to me on turn 2, and I think I rolled it almost every. Well,
No. I gave Adrian on turn 2, and then he gave one to me, and then I gave one to you like a turn or 2 later. But
and then I proceeded to roll it every single turn.
and multiple turns in a row,
Yeah.
or in a round
Yes.
too. And then there's also a conditional one that it's like it's worth. So say it's like, oh, this is 2 money unless the thing you rolled on your,
on
other,
your
die
die.
is yellow, and then in case you're going to get 5 instead. So the advanced ones are more complicated. I don't know what that one does, but
Yeah, I don't think we've ever used that.
I don't know. We didn't use that one, but it's all fairly easy to get. And
You
so,
might have to reference every once in a while. The hardest one was definitely the impetuous boar, where other people were rolling it because
they'd
they
have to
get
tell
it,
you.
get it,
Yeah.
but only you know because you have the card. On
Uh-huh.
the flip side, you know that you can also get 3 victory points from
Yes,
it.
that
It
is
does
correct.
not show anywhere on the die face.
Well,
No.
it's because
It's on the
basically
card.
It's on the card,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to say Because if it had the 3, the person who rolled it might think that they get
exactly.
3. So,
Yeah, I get why they did it.
yeah.
But it's only on the back side of the card, not the front side of the card.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah. Because the front side of the card shows the facing that you give someone else. On the back side of the card gives you the rules that you actually work
To be fair,
off of.
I never flipped over any of the cards.
Did either.
So
the only card I've ever flipped over is the one card where when you get it, you flip it over and it's another track where you can spend money to advance along it for points.
Yeah.
I never even thought that maybe other cards benefit from being flipped over once you buy them.
well, there we go. Even more shit we didn't even know about. Look at that.
Clearly, this game has so much depth.
Yeah.
I would have to say one of the hardest things in gameplay to keep track of is...
Whose turn it is?
I mean, it's whose turn it is.
Well, whether you've rolled for the current turn.
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking. Like,
there are...
we play at game nights where we're drinking and carrying
Yeah.
on, so it's easy. Like, maybe you guys both rolled, and I forgot to roll on Jeff's turn.
Or we rolled, and then we started chit-chatting about something, and then the next person rolled, and then we're like, oh, did I roll or not?
Yeah.
All of the player boards do have a spot for the die
Yeah.
that you can be like, I have rolled, and I put them here, and that way I know that I have moved my things.
Yeah.
And then you kind of take them off there. That's sort of your like, I have definitely done these things
Yeah.
spot, which we weren't really doing enough.
Zach was doing a little bit, I saw.
I mean, I was putting them there, but I
'cause
wasn't.
I started doing
because
that.
I noticed, like, I looked over at one point and you were doing. I was like, because I kept being like, why do you keep putting your dice there? Because they didn't look like they quite fit. It seemed like kind of awkward. And I was like, what do you? I was like, looked down. I was like, oh wait, there's spaces there for. Okay.
Which I think, I mean, it works like that for It's like if you put them there, then you know.
I have completed those two actions, but this game is so fast paced that you're kind of putting them for like a second and then pulling them back.
So that's what I was trying to say is that I feel like the longest delay, the longest delay, or the longest single thing you'll spend doing in this game is popping off and replacing those die faces,
especially if somebody buys multiple. Like,
Yes.
if they buy one, it doesn't take a lot. But like, if they have a lot of money and they're like, I'm going to buy 3 or 4 different faces, waiting for them to like, okay, I want to put this one here.
And technically, you could roll before that, but it's that same thing that we were talking about. It's like everybody should roll at once, to make sure that
on pace,
make sure that nobody accidentally rolls extra or misses out on a roll.
Right.
The only specific thing about buying die faces, you can't buy the same die face more than once per turn. They have to be different die facings, but you can buy as many of them as you want.
Which it hasn't been clear to me. I thought I understood it, and then the way you guys have phrased it both twice during this review. Can you spend, like, for instance, at
4, you could buy multiple of those unique ones, but you couldn't buy a 4 gold one and a 4 gold one.
Okay, and so then, like, you know, at the 8 level, you could buy one of the 8s and one of the other 8s if you had the extensions.
Yes, because that's something, like we said, there is a hard limit, but
there's an extension.
Yeah, because there are 2 level 1 crystal cards. Sorry, shards.
Moon shards.
There's 2 of each of the shards that are always there. And the 2 moon shards, one is you can add an extension to your board, meaning you can hold more money.
It's four more money or 3 sun and 3 moon.
And you can get multiple of those if you want.
You can run that deck right out. Be like, I'm the most extended.
And then there's also another
Some would
one.
Say girthy.
Yes, girthy, yeah. And you can also get
it's like a forge or something.
So that you can then spend money that you would gain on advancing this track. And if you get to level 1, you get 10 points. And if you get to level 2, you get 15 points.
Which is a great thing to do.
Yep.
If you keep rolling money and on not your turn, you can just bleed it right into that track and have a competitive score.
Yes.
Yes.
But there are multiple things where it says, like, you can spend gold to do this instead, but it's not gold you already have. It's gold that you make or get from divine blessings, receive from divine blessings.
Yes.
Bestowed upon from divine blessings.
Some kind of bullshit. Okay. I think that pretty much covers gameplay. Like, there's really, like I said, not a lot here.
No, there's some variable player setup.
Which is that's one thing that is nice, in that if you're first player, you think you would get fucked because everybody else gets to roll on your turn, and then you have to go buy something. And so most games, it's like the people who aren't first get better and better resources for going.
It goes like 1, 2, 3 bonus resources for first, second,
exactly.
third.
But here it's 3, 2, 1, and then 0 because you're getting all those extra rolls. So I think that was smart of them to do that, because then you have at least 5 gold to buy something,
Yes.
or at least 3 if you roll whatever. But yeah,
it would just really suck if you're the third player who only starts with 1 gold and your first rolls are all just shards, and then you don't.
I mean,
then you've got a bunch of shards to go buy shard cards. Yeah. Right on. Let's move over to final thoughts then. So I'll start because I feel like I'm probably not a shocking opinion on this game. It's not my favorite. I don't dislike it. I don't think it's a bad game. It is a 100% just a dice chucky game. Like, there's really not a lot of in-depth decision making or things like that. Like, you're very much a slave to the rolls. When I going into it, I thought I would be really interested in see how it would work, being able to swap faces and maybe make the die work more the way you want it, like stack the odds in your favor, which comes into play a little bit, but you're still just really a slave to that roll. You could have 5 out of 6 of your faces be awesome. If you keep rolling that single bad face, you're screwed. Jeff had that in our last game. You gave him one of those boar faces, and he rolled it like 6 times in a row.
He was getting a crystal, or he's getting a shard every time.
Well, he should have been.
That's his fault more than anything.
But you can have one bad face that you just keep rolling and keep rolling, even if you've built the rest of it to be really good, if your luck's just not in. Yeah. Or conversely, somebody else at the table, Zach, can just constantly be rolling exactly what he wants to and needs to in order to maximize his turns and efficiency, and then you feel like you're stuck and that you don't really have a chance. And that can be very frustrating, especially for somebody like me who doesn't care for that kind of randomness in a game.
Or you've upgraded almost all of your other die facings, but you keep getting those bad ones over and over and over and over.
And what's the point of buying any of that other shit?
Yeah, just fuck all of this. That being said, I do really appreciate, I think that the implementation of changing the die faces, how you buy certain ones or you get other ones from cards, I think that implementation was really good. I think for as simple as this game is, it works really well at what it's trying to do. It's just not for me. I do also really appreciate that this is a quick game. If this game played an hour or more, I would probably really hate it. But as it is, once people know it, I think that 40-minute
might be a bit
playing
much.
time might actually be long. Like, you can easily, in a 3-player game, you can rock through this game if you've got people who know what they're doing. The most complex decision you're going to have is like, oh, I've got 6 money. Do I buy a 6 or do I buy a 4 and a 2? Or I've got 8 money. Do I buy an 8 or do I buy 2 4s? Or do I buy a 4 and 2 2s?
Or it's I can either buy that crystal or I can save up to get the other crystal.
So it's just really simple decisions, nothing that should really bog it down in AP or anything like that. So when you have people who know the game, you should be able to just rock through it.
Yeah.
And for that, it's good. I can see why it's a really highly ranked family game. This would be a great game to introduce people to, kind of a cool and interesting game to show them, hey, board games aren't just stupid Monopoly bullshit. They can actually be interesting and do other things without really like burdening them with a bunch of rules overhead and complex interactions and things to plan for if they're not somebody who's ready for that. So certainly not for me, but I think it's good at what it does. Jeff, how about you?
I really like Dice Forge. Great components. Blown away by the insert.
I didn't touch on all that. That's all amazing.
Yeah. Super fun variability across the whole game. It's light enough and fast enough to where even if you get totally dice fucked in the whole game, it's short enough to make that pain end quickly. I really love the components and art, and changing out the dice facings is fun. It's really easy to teach new people too, which Adrian touched on, like family stuff. Like, this is definitely one of those, I don't know, kind of getting into the like gateway level of board games. I don't know what else there is to say that he also didn't mention and also loved that we have also mentioned multiple times about this game. It's easy, it's fun, it's easy to learn, it's easy to teach. It's got great components. It's a fun game that I want a little more to, which is coming.
Expansion
coming. Dice Forge Rebellion. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, it's good game. Good, great game.
Right
out of the box. for a reasonable price.
Zach?
I mean, it's going to sound pretty similar. I think it's a great gateway game. I think it's a good one to show, like, just like you're saying, hey, there are other games besides Monopoly and Scrabble and stuff like that.
I've been teaching a lot of people King of Tokyo recently. This might be kind of the next step beyond King of Tokyo.
And then also the fact that you can show them, hey, not only are the games getting more interesting, but they're putting a lot more effort into the game itself in terms of just components. And like we were saying, everything has a spot. It has great board presence. The dice are really going to draw people in, I think, because it drew all three of us in. Of like, wait, you get to replace the faces of the die? Hell yeah, I want to try that out. I think it's quick. I think it's light enough that, like you said, you're not going to get bogged down in AP.
It's currently a 1.91 on BGG.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
Easily, yes. I like that everybody gets to, like, you're not just waiting for your turn to come up to actually do something. You get to roll on everybody's turn, so you're seeing yourself build up, and you're trying to be like, oh, sweet, I got this, and you can sort of plan, oh, I've got into this, now I can actually get this thing that I was trying to, save up for, or some of the more complicated ones you can try and leech off of other people. I do like that they gave you more advanced ones. It's not that much more advanced. It's like 1 versus 2. It's not like level 4 shit.
No,
but
there's not like, just take some of those facings off.
Yeah.
Just throw them in the garbage.
Yeah. You roll this one that becomes a portal, and then you have a maze you have to do.
Now it's a dexterity game.
I like that. I'm in, Jeff.
Locked in.
You're throwing those dice to actually hit something.
Flicking.
Yes.
There's flicking involved.
Flicking, yes. Obviously, we know that there's an expansion coming that hopefully will make this game better. But I think for a base game, this is about as good as it can be. Components, and I can't think of anything outside of nitpicky things. You couldn't really want any more. And I don't think it's an amazing game, but I think it's for what it is, for the type of audience it is for, I think it's very good.
It is currently very well regarded on BGG.
But I'm also super excited for an expansion.
Yeah.
Because I think the game is it's about the dice.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Just like in Seven Wonders, like the base one, it's about drafting. It's drafting the game. This is dice rolling, dice building the game.
Yeah.
And then I would love to see what more this game could add to it, or other games would use this same feature to add to theirs. So
a little bit about that expansion. It's going to be called Dice Forge Rebellion.
Yep.
It adds
February of next year.
2 different modules to add to the game, a total of 30 exploit cards, which, is that what those other cards were already called? I don't know any of the names.
The
main cards.
The heroic feat cards.
Okay, so these are different cards. Now there's exploit cards.
Ooh.
30 of them. New die faces, new boards, and an expansion to the Sanctuary box.
Yeah, so the box that the expansion comes in will go at the end of that and have new dice and tokens, and it looks like a track, like 2 different tracks that you can put in there. So it's kind of like 1.5 expansions.
Yeah. Which they're saying,
like 75% this and then 25% that sort of expansion.
They're saying it'll offer greater interaction and more replayability, which are 2 things I think this game desperately needs.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It seems like there's like a unforgeable die that they'll be adding into the game that is like a fancy, like crazy high value bonus die or something like that.
Ooh. Yeah, well,
I'm interested in more
information of that.
I'm out
when it comes out.
I can't change that die.
What is this? Literally every other game, except for I think there was other one Rattle Bones.
Yeah, let's move on over to some listener feedback. We had a comment over on the BGG post. Zach, do you have that pulled up?
Yes, I do. This is from Chad.
A Chad or the Chad?
The Chad.
Good.
Yeah. Obviously, his girlfriend's name is Stacy.
Of course.
Yeah. This game ended up being less than what I'd hoped after a few plays, and I traded it away. While I really liked the dice construction mechanic in theory, in practice, it wasn't much better than a standard deck builder and a lot more fiddly. Having to pry those dice faces off the first few times was a real pain. The game itself felt a lot like multiplayer solitaire. The only real interaction was racing for cards or dice faces. I really enjoyed the artwork though, and the insert is one of the better I've ever seen. It sounds like the expansion is going to fix a lot of this, however, so here's hoping that my buddy still has a copy.
Well, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do. I definitely can agree. Like, this is multiplayer solitaire.
Yep.
Like,
Some of those advanced cards add a little bit of interaction.
But
yes,
not much.
Not
It's-
much.
Especially because it's really tame interaction. Like, here, you get to get a blue or red shard, and then I get a blue or a red or 3 points.
It's
For me, it's
basically like-
mainly, I just mainly like it because be like, hey, I'm putting this on your dice, and I'm going to be on your die forever.
I'm making my mark.
Yeah.
you can get up to 3 facings
Mhm.
a turn
Yeah.
instead of 2 facings a turn.
Yes, exactly.
If all of this sounds good to you, if you are interested in picking this up, as Jeff hinted, I think a little bit during his final thoughts there, it is pretty damn affordable. Running for about $35 on most major online places, and depending on the status of your LGS, maybe even cheaper.
Yeah, I ended up picking this up when I saw it for a really crazy good deal on Amazon for like $23. And I was just like, boop, buy. I've been looking for it for a while.
Yeah, that's
It
a
was
really
easy-
good deal for
It was
that.
an easy purchase.
Yeah, and even considering the component and art quality, I think that $35, if this is the type of game that you're going to enjoy, $35 is a steal for it. You know, like, I wouldn't buy it, but that's because I just don't care for this game. I wouldn't buy it at $10. But that's just because it's not for me. It's clearly not for me. So yeah, that's Dice Forge. I'm sure we'll talk about it some more when the expansion comes out and Jeff picks it up.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Couple months out.
Indeed. That wraps up the review. If you want to get a hold of us and let us know what you think of Dice Forge, you can do so in many different ways. You can always send us emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can tweet us. I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
And I'm Jeff_MHGG.
You can leave comments over on Facebook or Instagram, both /MileHighGameGuys. And you can always jump over to the Board Game Geek Guild number 2731, where there's a thread up about it where you can leave your feedback and we will address it in a later episode. You can also check out the show notes over on milehighgameguys.com for a link to the Slack channel where any old random asshole can join and start talking about Dice Forge. Totally allowed, so plenty of ways to let us know what you think of this game. And that wraps up the episode. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick review.
yeah, not a very big game.
Good.
Nice little light one.
Good solid hour.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed the review. Be sure to catch us next week where we'll have our normal Wednesday banter episode. And then Friday, we will be reviewing Stonemaier Games Between Two Castles.
Of Mad King Ludwig.
We have planned ahead.
Yeah.
Shocking. I know.
Weird.
Mile High Game Guys have a plan. What the fuck?
2
I
weeks
don't
out.
believe it.
Can't even imagine.
The end times.
It is.
Speaking of end times.
This is the end. We will see you all later. As always, I have been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Hephaestus Jeff.
Bye.
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 Right on. Well, we'll move on. I gotta stop saying that. Stop saying right on.
Right
Now
on.
that you guys
Right
pointed that
on.
out, I gotta get rid of
Right
it.
on, right on, right on.